If you've ever sat through a Hollywood blockbuster, you already know the routine. An alien scout ship crosses millions of miles of empty, freezing space, bypasses the Great Wall of China, ignores the pyramids of Giza, and decides that the absolute best place to reveal itself is a cornfield in Nebraska. It's the ultimate cliché. If a giant saucer isn't hovering over the White House or blowing up a landmark in Manhattan, is it even a real UFO movie? But here's the thing, this isn't just a trope for the big screen. If you look at the actual data from groups like the National UFO Reporting Center, the numbers are pretty wild. We're talking thousands of reports every single year, and the vast majority of them happen right here in the lower 48 states. It makes you wonder, right? I mean, are the aliens just really big fans of American fast food? Do they have some kind of intergalactic green card that only lets them hover over Ohio or Nevada? It feels weird. Actually, wait, let me put it this way. If you were an advanced civilization traveling across millions of miles, and I mean millions of miles of empty, freezing, soul-crushing space, why would you keep showing up in the same backyard? Why is it always a farmer in Kansas or a hiker in the Appalachians? It's like, out of the whole planet, they've decided the US is the only place worth a tourist visit. But honestly, the answer isn't just aliens love Vegas, it's a lot messier, and if I'm being real, a lot more human than that. Today, I want to talk about why the US seems to be the world's favorite landing strip for things we can't explain. It's a mix of tech, culture, and some very expensive, secret toys that we probably weren't supposed to see. First off, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Lately, this stuff isn't just for people wearing tinfoil hats in the woods or guys living in trailers out in the desert. We've got Navy pilots talking to Congress. We've got the Pentagon releasing these grainy, weird videos of Tic Tacs zooming around at speeds that would basically turn a human pilot into strawberry jam. It's gone mainstream. But the UFO phenomenon, as we know it, is almost uniquely American in its flavor. It really kicked off back in the late 40s. You had the Kenneth Arnold sighting, then Roswell, which, let's be honest, is the granddaddy of all alien stories. Since then, the US has recorded over 100,000 official reports. Now, I'm Canadian, right? We're neighbors. We share a border that's over 5,000 miles long. We have the same sky, the same stars, the same clouds, but for some reason, the moment you cross that line into Montana or North Dakota, the number of glowing orbs just skyrockets. Is it because the aliens know exactly where the border is? Do they have GPS set to avoid Canadian airspace because we're too polite? Probably not. It's about something else entirely. I think it comes down to three main things: the gear, the culture, and the secret sauce, which is basically the military. Let's look at the gear first. The US is probably the most surveyed piece of land on the planet. Think of it like this. If you lose your car keys in a massive from pitch black park, you're only going to find them if you're looking under the one street lamp that's actually working. The US is that street lamp. You've got millions of people with high-end smartphones. You've got thousands of private pilots, weather balloons, and more civilian drones than you can shake a stick at. When there's that much tech pointed at the sky, people are going to see stuff. Most of it is just junk, trash flying in the wind, a weird reflection, or a SpaceX satellite train. But because Americans are looking, they find more stuff to report. Then you have the military. This is the big one. The US spends, what is it now, like $800 billion a year on defense. That is an insane amount of money, and a lot of that goes into black projects. These are the toys we don't know about yet. Imagine your neighbor is a guy who spends all his time in his garage building weird, experimental leaf blowers. Every now and then, you see a strange spark or hear a high-pitched whine that sounds like a jet engine. You're gonna think he's building a UFO. Well, the US government is that neighbor. They have testing ranges like Area 51 or the Edwards Air Force Base that are hundreds of miles wide. If you're a farmer in the middle of the desert and you see something moving at 4,000 miles per hour at 2 a.m., you're not seeing a weather balloon. you're seeing a multi-billion-dollar project that won't be official for another 20 years. Think back to the F-117 Nighthawk or the B-2 stealth bomber. Before those were public, people were reporting triangular UFOs all the time. Turns out, it wasn't Martians. It was just the Air Force testing things that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie. And then there's the culture side of it. In America, the alien is a pop culture icon. It's ingrained in the DNA of the country. Since the 50s, Hollywood has pumped out thousands of movies about visitors from space. It's the default explanation for anything weird. If someone in a small village in another part of the world sees a strange light, they might think it's a ghost, or a religious sign, or maybe just a weird star they haven't noticed before. But in the States, if it's glowing and it's moving fast, people immediately think the Martians are finally here. It's a feedback loop. The more we talk about it, the more we see it. It's like when you buy a new car, say a red truck, and suddenly you notice every single red truck on the road. They were always there. You're just tuned in now. But wait, let me rephrase that. It's not that the US is the only place this happens. That's a common misconception. If we're being objective, other countries have their own UFO hotspots. France actually has a government agency called GAPAN that's been studying this stuff for decades. Brazil has had some absolutely terrifying encounters that their military has actually confirmed with radar data and photos. The difference is the noise. The US is just loud. American media is global. If a guy in rural Tennessee sees a light in his backyard, it's on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter in 10 minutes. If a shepherd in the Andes sees the same thing, we probably never hear about it because it doesn't fit into the global media machine. Now here's the but, the reality check. Just because we can explain why there are more reports in the US, it doesn't mean the reports themselves are all fake. That's the tricky part. You can throw out 95% of these sightings as birds, planes, or those Chinese spy balloons. Remember that whole thing with the balloons last year? That was a weird week, wasn't it? Everyone was looking at the sky like it was the end of the world. But it's that remaining 5% that keeps me up at night. The stuff that the Navy pilots, guys who are trained to identify every single aircraft in existence, are seeing. These things are performing maneuvers that basically spit in the face of physics. I mean, they're dropping from 30,000 feet to sea level in less than a second without making a sonic boom. If you did that in a normal jet, the G-forces would turn the pilot into a puddle of mush. So, even if the US is just a hub for sightings because of our tech and our culture, there's still something very real and very physical happening. Whether it's our own secret tech, another country's tech, or, well, the other option, we're just the ones with the most sensors pointed at it. It's like being the only house on the block with a 24/7 high-def security camera. You're going to be the only one who catches the raccoon raiding the trash cans at 3 a.m. But that doesn't mean the raccoon isn't visiting the other houses too. They just don't have the footage. At the end of the day, why the US? Honestly, it's a perfect storm. You've got a massive amount of empty, wide-open land, a military that loves to build secret stuff in the desert, and a population that's basically been trained by 70 years of cinema to look for ET. It's a perfect environment for a mystery to grow. But I don't know. There's something kind of cool about it, isn't there? In a world where everything feels so documented and tracked, where you can see any street corner on the planet from your phone, it's nice to know there's still a bit of a mystery left. Even if 99% of it is just us misidentifying our own drones or getting spooked by Venus on a clear night. It keeps us looking up, and honestly, we probably don't do that enough anyway. Look, if you're out there tonight and you see something weird, don't panic. Just, please, for the love of everything, try to get a steady video. Why is it always 240p resolution? We have 4K cameras in our pockets, people. There's no excuse for blurry blobs anymore. Anyway, that's just my take on the whole American UFO obsession. Is the US just a big target, or are we just the only ones obsessed enough to keep track? I'm leaning toward a bit of both. I'm gonna go finish this coffee before it gets as cold as a January morning back home in Winnipeg.